guys, Olivia here, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Friday, February 25th, and I am back for my stitching update. It has been 2 weeks since my last one, so I hope you've all been well, and you've been creating and making and stitching all of the things. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. This is a video podcast where I talk about my cross-stitching as well as my quilting. And if quilting is not something that you're interested in seeing or hearing about, I show it a little bit later on in the video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they or it will be making its appearance, so that way you can go on to the next Flosstube video. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So how have you guys all been? I hope you had a great 2 weeks since we last sat down to chat. Today here in my neck of the woods, it's a beautiful late winter's day. We had a bit of a cold snap that came through after we had those warm 60-degree days. I did cover up my hydrangeas because of all the plants that I have. Those are the 4 that I do not want to lose. So they are shrouded in plastic right now, and I hope that they weathered through this, this cold snap. But it has been kind of nice. I mean, it's been blue sky. We did have a very, very, very minute dusting of snow yesterday. And so that was kind of fun to go out and walk around with Freddy, and you'd have like these tiny little snowflakes come down. So Mother Nature isn't finished with us yet. I think for a while she did forget that we were here. And which a lot of us were very grateful, because last year was a very hard year weather-wise, and it was nice to kind of see those spring temps arrive very unexpectedly. I am anxious to get back out into my flower beds. There's a lot of work to be done, and I can't wait for the weather to improve enough to where I can go out there and begin, you know, clearing the brush and things out of the way so that new growth can come up out of the ground. And I do have some plans this year for my flower garden, and I can't wait to see that kind of unfold. But other than that, it's been pretty much business as usual here. Last week I did start making project bags, and I did get those, the ones that I finished, I did get them listed in my Etsy shop, and thank you to everybody who has purchased one. I have lots more that will be going into the shop over the next, probably next week. But because I've been doing that, there's been a lot of stuff that I have not had a chance to work on, some things that I did plan on working on that I did not get a chance to work on over these past 2 weeks. So I am hoping to work on them in these next 2 weeks. Right now the husband has gone to the grocery store, so it is just Freddy and I here, as well as the birds. I did get some questions because you guys did hear the birds in the background in my last video and all of the videos that have come before it. My daughter Allison has 2 parakeets, Mick and Taffy, and those are the ones that you are hearing in the background of the video. I have to admit, I don't really, when I'm out here filming my video, if I'm paying attention, I can hear them, and if I'm, you know, not really paying attention, I don't really hear them. You know, you kind of become ear blind. But I do enjoy hearing them chirp, and on beautiful days like this, they do hear the birds outside. So sometimes they get very, very loud, and I have a feeling that you'll be hearing them a lot in the background of this video because, again, it's a very beautiful day outside. So if you guys don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and jump right into this video. I had some questions in my last video and also on Instagram, so I thought that I would go ahead and answer them right now before I forget about them. The first question that I got was about the watch that I was wearing in my last video. So this is a brand new watch, and I had a lot of you guys wondering if it was a smartwatch. It's not. It's just a regular old-fashioned watch, and I got it a couple of weeks ago when my previous watch broke, and I needed something. I realized that with technology being what it is and having phones and things like that, it's really easy to find out what time it is, but I do still prefer to wear just a regular old-fashioned watch. A question that I got both in some of my previous videos and also in my email and on Instagram. There is a number of you guys that are thinking about filming Flosstube videos, and you are wondering what it is that I use to film and edit my videos. So to record all my videos, I'm using my smartphone. It is a Google Pixel. And because I am using the Google interface, I do also have a Google Chromebook. And so my phone communicates with my Google Chromebook. So when I am done filming these videos, I will very quickly shoot it off to my Google Drive, wait for it to upload, and once it does upload to my Google Drive, then I can go in and pull them off and put it into my editing software to edit and do all of the transitions and insert pictures and music and things like that. To edit all of my videos, I use an online software called WeVideo. So I don't have to download anything to my computer. I just go online, type in WeVideo, log into my account, and then I can go in and start editing my video. I do pay for the service. It does have a free service which only allows you to work with a 5-minute video. So I do pay a fee for that, but it's worth it to me because prior to that, I was using an app that I downloaded to my computer and I was constantly having issues with it. I would get all the way through editing my videos and it would give me an error message saying that some clip in my video was corrupted, and because it was corrupted, it would not upload my video at all. So I would spend hours editing it only to have to start all over again. I finally had enough of it and just decided to look for an online video editor, and WeVideo was the one that I found. The music that I use for my videos is I search for royalty-free music, which means that there's no copyright issues with them and you can use them in your videos, on Instagram, wherever it is that you want to insert music. And that is where I get it. I just download it to my computer and then I upload it to my video at the beginning and the end. So another question that I got was in regards to a picture that I posted on Instagram last week. It was either the beginning of this week or last week, and it was about the embroidery hoop that I was using. I had a lot of you guys curious about what the hoop was, where you can get it. This is the hoop in question. So this is a queen hoop. It is a vintage wooden embroidery hoop. On the inside, which this is the inside hoop, it does have a piece of felt that goes all the way around. This hoop was very, very well taken care of. It does not have any dinks, scratches. The felt on the inside is perfectly intact. This hoop you cannot get anywhere except on the secondary market. And after I found it, I went online to do a little bit of research to find out, who manufactured it. Is it part of like the Duchess hoops that a lot of hand embroiderers and cross stitchers like to use? And it is not. It was made by a completely different company, but during that same time frame. The queen hoops are very, very rare to find, and they go for a lot of money on the secondary market, which is something that I did discover while I was kind of researching it. It can go anywhere from $100 to $400. I got mine at the Goodwill for $2.99. And I couldn't believe it when I found it. It was kind of tucked back behind a bunch of craft supplies, and I just happened to see the little dials sticking out. I grabbed it. There was another hoop that was attached to it that was also a smaller wooden hoop that is also a vintage hoop as well. And I brought it home, did a little bit of research, and discovered that it is very rare to find one of these in the wild, and when you do, they do go for quite a lot of money, which I was very surprised to find out. I absolutely love it. I found it early fall last year, and I have used it ever since. I will stitch smaller projects in this, and I just really, really like, it's very lightweight and I like to use it. It also kind of helps me feel connected with the stitchers of the past. And I just like that feeling of sort of like having that, that vibe, I guess, going. So I really do like using it. I'm really sorry that you can't get it except on the secondary market. I had a couple of people send me pictures of one that was on eBay that went for $399. And I'm like, I didn't pay that. I paid $2.99 at the Goodwill. But it's been, I'm really fortunate to have it. It's in beautiful condition. I wish they still made them like this because I just really like using it for my smaller stitching. It holds my linen very, not tautly, just enough to, you know, that the stitching on it, it just flows very nice. And I really do like using it. And I feel very fortunate that I was able to find one. And I had no idea when I saw it that it was very rare to find one of these. One last question, and it's a two-parter. The first part of the question is, what kind of needles do I prefer when I'm cross-stitching? So I use the Peacemakers. Prior to using these, I use the Bowen needles, and those are the ones that I also use when I hand embroidered. I used them for many years, but I found that I did go through the Bowen needles a lot faster because when I was stitching, I somehow would manage to bend the needle. And if I didn't bend the needle, then I definitely bent the eye of the needle. So I was always having to throw them away. I was going through maybe more than one needle in a project. And I realized that needles are not that expensive, but I try to use my needles for as long as I possibly can. And to have these needles bend, have the eyes bend, and even have them break when I went to go pop a knot out was very frustrating. And about 3 years ago, I went up to Acorns and Threads and I told them what my problem was, and they recommended the Peacemakers. So these are a little bit more, they've got a little bit more to them. I have yet to bend an eye. I've had yet to bend the needle, and I've had yet to break a needle. I do like to use my needles multiple times. And what happens is when I am working on a project, whatever needle I am using, I will stick it to the needle minder. And when I'm done with the needle minder, I put it on a magnet board. And when I go for a new project, I will go to the magnet board and I will pull a needle minder off. And about half the time it has a needle on it, which is great. And the other half, I just have to pull a needle from another needle minder and stick it on the one I'm going to use. But I try to use mine for as long as I possibly can, and I have yet to throw one of these away yet. So I really like them, and I can highly recommend them. I got them from my local LNS, which is Acorns and Threads up in Portland. I have seen them though on 123 Stitch. The last time I checked, they were out of stock, but they do come back into stock, you know, often. So if you are looking for a brand of needles to use, I can highly recommend the Peacemakers. And then the second part of that question was, if I create a small framed item, how do I finish it? Do I lace it or finish it in some other way? So I thought I would grab this little small project. This was Home by Pineberry Lane. I stitched this one a couple of years ago, and I just found a very small frame at Michael's. Once I finished it, I did lace it onto a piece of mat board with 2 pieces of batting underneath. So this is one option. Then I realized this one isn't technically a small one, but this is another way that I might choose to finish something small. This is a horn book that I purchased from, and if I get this wrong, because I always do, it's April of Homestead Needleworks. And if I'm wrong, I'll scroll it down below, because for some reason I always have a problem remembering how to say or in what order her shop name is. But she does have a shop on Etsy. She makes beautiful boards for all of your cross stitching and punch needle finishes. And this could also be another way that I would choose to finish a smaller project. This one also has been laced on a piece of mat board with a couple of pieces of batting. The other way, of course, would be to finish it and put it into the trench bowl as a small pillow. So I hope that answers your question. I know I do get asked a lot of times if I will ever do a framing tutorial, and I have thought about it. The only drawback I have is everybody has their own opinion on how they like to finish things. I don't really think there's any right or wrong way to finish your cross stitch, but I do feel like if I were to do a tutorial, I would have a lot of people tell me that I'm not doing it right, or that I need to do it X, Y, and Z, and I just kind of do it how it works for me. All of my framed pieces that I've done within the last 2 years, I have laced them onto a piece of mat board. The mat board you can buy at any craft shop. If they have a framing department, that is usually where you can find it. You can also use foam core. I haven't used foam core yet, but I have a time or two thought that if I was not able to get mat board, that would be a good alternative. I do lace it, so I have a piece of mat board, and I usually use 2 to 3 pieces of batting. I lace it using it's crochet thread, that not thick. You get them in the cones, and if I can think about it, I will insert a picture of what it looks like. But I just buy mine from Michael's. It's a couple of dollars, and it lasts for quite a while. I use it in multiple projects, and that is what I use to lace my cross stitch pieces for my framing. So one of these days I will do a tutorial when I work up the courage to do that. Okay, so I had to pause so I could go put away the groceries, and I thought I would show Freddy because I haven't done that in the last couple of videos. Usually he is sleeping or he's being obnoxious or who knows, and also he doesn't like to sit for very long, even though if the camera was not on, he would totally just hang out with me just like this. So I don't know. He is in his terrible twos right now. He pretty much, if he can get a hold of it, he shreds it. So you have to be like really careful what you leave out. He did somehow get a hold of one of my DMC bobbins, and I didn't realize what he was doing. I think I was making dinner or something. I still don't know how he got a hold of it. I think he might have wings, but he got a hold of it and he started shredding it. And then I had to chase him around the house to try to get my bobbin of floss out of his mouth. And the thing was, it was a brand new. I just wrapped it. I just put it on a fresh bobbin, and he destroyed it. I was able to save the thread though, so that's good. Okay, so let's talk about what I've been working on over the past couple of weeks. Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain. I did talk about this one in my last video, and I had decided to pull it out of the mocking basket of whips and bring it into my regular rotation. So I will work on this at least once a month for 5 days. And I thought maybe I'd be able to get this done by October, or at least during the month of October. I am not so sure right now. I feel like the progress that I made was very, it wasn't a lot, but at the same time, this is there's a lot of stitches. It's very densely stitched, especially the fence area, which is where I was working. So this is Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain by Kathy Barrick. And here is my progress. So in my last video, I thought I had started this in 2020, like early fall of 2020. And when I was editing my video, I like to put the information about what I am working on. I will put it in the description box down below. And I was not sure what count of linen I was stitching it on. So I went onto Instagram hoping that whenever I had posted my last picture of this, I had put that information there. And it was actually in 2019 was when I started working on this. And I cannot believe it has been that long. It doesn't feel like it has been that long, but that is exactly how long it's been. So I'm glad that I decided to go ahead and pull this up out of the mocking basket, start working on it. Whenever I put something into my regular rotation, it stays in my rotation until it is done. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 40 count Vintage Country Mocha with Gentle Art threads, and Jen from Quirks and Stitches, she had done a conversion to this, and she so kindly shared it with me, and I am using her conversion. And I really, really love working on this. I love that big orange house. I just love everything about this. So whenever I'm stitching on something, whenever it comes to the very end of the evening, the rotation, what have you, I just stop exactly where I am, because if I try to continue working when I'm tired, I usually will make mistakes. So that is why the deer is only partially done. So I love it. I'm stitching at 1/2, in case I forgot to mention that. And I don't think I will work on it over these next 2 weeks, but in the following 2 weeks I will. Next up is The Winter is Past by Blackbird Designs. This one, I did not get as far as I wanted to. I really was trying to get this whole top portion done over the 5 days when it was in my rotation. And what happened is last week, which is when I was working on this one, so everything that I worked on last week in the evening kind of suffered the same fate. And I think Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain also, the first couple of days I worked on it, it was kind of the same situation. But the husband and I were watching the Netflix show Inventing Anna. And I found myself a lot of the time paying attention to what was going on. It was kind of like a train wreck you could not look away from. And so whatever I was working on during the 9 days that we watched that, it all just kind of suffered. I maybe was lucky if I put like a half an hour worth of stitches into it. And so this was one of the ones that kind of bore the brunt of me not really paying attention. So here is my progress. I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count Oaken with the Called For Weeks Dye Works Threads 1/2. So I am looking forward to getting back to this one. I did enjoy working on it while I was, but honestly that show really captured my attention. I think a lot of it was just if you ever have a chance to watch it, it is on Netflix. It's called Inventing Anna. If you have a chance to watch it, it's about they called her the German heiress, and she's basically like a huge con artist. But the amount of stuff she gets away with, and for how long she does, and the things that she does to like her victims, it's just unbelievable. And while it's going on, I mean, honestly, all you can do is sit there with your mouth hanging open. You just can't believe that this person got away with it for as long as she did. And the people that were, like the lady that was writing the story and her attorney, they both kind of ended up being almost as crazy as she was. If you have a chance to watch it, go watch it, but don't expect to get a whole lot of stitching done. And even if you think you will, if you sit down and you're like, I'm just gonna listen to this, it'll be fine. I already know the whole story. I watched Dateline, I know. Trust me, it's a train wreck. And every single episode, it's one thing after another. So when this comes back into my rotation, I will be looking forward to finishing the alphabet, finishing the upper border, working on the side borders, and then working my way down. So I'm looking forward to getting back to this one again, and I hope that I don't think there's really anything coming on that will distract me, because right now all of the regular TV shows have come back or are coming back now that the Olympics are over. And most of that stuff I don't need to watch. It's just kind of something I listen to, because usually you can figure out the plot lines in the first 2 minutes. Next up, this one I had taken out of my evening rotation and did it as my morning stitch. However, over the past 2 weeks, I only was able to work on it 3 of the 14 days, because I found myself, like especially last week, reading a book in the morning. And then anytime I had any little bit of free time, I found myself reading a book, 5 books. But I couldn't help myself. I would start reading, and then I'd finish a book and think, okay, it's stitching time or it's quilting time. And before I knew it, I had another book in my hand and I was reading it. And I think it's okay. You know, I feel like sometimes you just need to allow yourself to have some time to just focus on just reading and not so much on other hobbies. I think it's a nice break for your brain, because then when you do get back to it, you're ready to go. So unfortunately, this one was one of the ones that I only worked on 3 days, and that is the Mary Bell Sampler by Lori Rippey. And I really want to get this one done. I'm really enjoying stitching on it when I do, and I definitely want to get it done soon. I just, yeah, it was like first thing in the morning, I looked at my stitching, and then I'm like, I'll just read a chapter. It'll be fine. Just one chapter, and then I'll stitch. And then before you know it, it's 2 chapters later, and it's time to go take a shower for the day. So here is my progress so far. I have decided to move this back into my evening rotation, so I will be working on it tonight and then for the next 5 days. So I hope that I will be able to get this one pretty close to finishing, or pretty close to a finish in my next video. I don't know that I will get it completely finished. That would be awesome if I did, but I'm looking forward to working on this one for the next 5 days. I just have a little bit left of the house to do, and then move on to the motifs that are on either side of the house. Her name is down below right here, and I need to figure out if I'm going to leave it or if I'm going to find a relative on my family tree that kind of has the same amount of letters. Before I forget, I'm stitching Mary Bell Sampler on a piece of 36 count Cornsilk by Weeks Dye Works. The original chart calls for some anchor floss, and I don't know if you can hear that scratching sound, but that is Freddy. He lost something underneath the couch, and I think I might need to go find it before he rips the couch apart. 36 count Cornsilk by Weeks Dye Works. The original chart calls for some anchor and some DMC, but I am using all DMC, and I'm stitching it 1/2. And I'm gonna pause really, really fast. Crisis averted. He had lost his bone under the couch, and it was just far enough away that he just couldn't quite get it. All right, the next thing I was working on is Autumn at Hawk Run Hollow by Carriage House Samplings. This one has kind of taken the place of my Wednesday and Thursday autumn stitch. Yvette and I did decide, because she is working on the village of Hawk Run Hollow, and we're kind of in the same, as far as like block placement, we're kind of in the same area. We're having so much fun working on our Hawk Run Hollows that we have decided to continue working on them, because we would both really, really like to get them finished this year if it's possible. And then of course, once we're done with that, then we'll, probably go back to working on autumn pieces on Wednesday and Thursday. So I will continue working on this one, hopefully until it is done. And here is my progress. So I'm stitching it on a piece of 40 count Vintage Country Mocha with the DMC conversion 1/2. And the conversion is the one that is listed on the chart. This one, I do not believe I swapped out any of the DMC colors. Everything is pretty much what the called for is. So I was able to get the pig done. I think I had started working on the pig in my last video. The words, I decided to leave them, the chart has the words, they're like, there's some green stitching, so they're filled in. And I decided to not do the fill in behind the words. And so last night I was able to finish the words, and I dropped down and worked on the basket. So I really, really love working on this, and I can't wait to get back to it next week, where hopefully within this next 2 weeks, so I'll have 4 days total in the next 2 weeks, and I'm hoping that maybe I'll be able to get all the baskets done. But the baskets there's quite a bit of stitching on them, and I'm not really sure. I hate to say that I would get it done, but I'm hoping that I will at least get close, because it would be kind of cool to be able to get another block finished. So I love this one so very much. One change, which I know I have kind of talked about in the fall, I think, as I was working on it this fall? I think I started back on it, I guess I should have wrote it down. I don't think I even wrote it down in my book of days. At some point I had stopped working on it. So it must have been I had been working on it through the summer last year, off and on. And then I did quit at the beginning of fall. So I think at the beginning of fall, I had made the decision to lose these 2 blocks here. I think the original plan was to pull 2 blocks from one of the other charts and insert them here. I have since decided not to do that. So once I finish these 2, I'll drop down and work on these 2. So mine will be 2 blocks short. And these 2 particular blocks I've decided to stitch on Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. So, and I think in the last couple of videos, I did forget to mention that I was going to be doing that. I vaguely remember talking about it. It must have been like late summer last year, but I do not think that I've mentioned it since I started working on this one again. My plans going forward are going to be to work on the Mary Bell sampler, then autumn at Hawk Run Hollow, and then Christmas Garden comes back into the rotation, and I will be working on my March assignment. So I'm looking forward to getting to working on all those and to getting back to Christmas Garden. And thank you to everybody for all of your kind comments. As many of you know, I am stitching Christmas Garden as a tribute piece to my sister-in-law who passed away in November. And it's been a wonderful piece to work on, but it's been bittersweet at the same time, because when I originally had bought the chart and then Yvette and I had kitted it up, because we always knew we were going to stitch it together, Yvette and I didn't realize that I would be stitching it for that reason. I thought I was just going to be stitching it at some point, you know, just for fun. And then, I don't know, sometimes I feel like the universe always knows. It always has a plan, and it just kind of steers you in the right direction. So, yes, it's a very bittersweet piece, very beautiful, and I am looking forward to getting back to it. I did have a finish over the past couple of weeks, and I showed this in my last video. This is Samplings number 1 by Brenda Gervais of With Thy Needle and Thread. And I was pretty close to a finish on my last video. I just had to unpick a section of stitching, which I was able to do a couple of, I guess it was a couple of nights ago. While I was working on Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain, I decided to take like a half hour, go through, unpick the stitches, and then it was this side that I had to restitch. So here's my finish. It's not perfect. I tried really, really hard, but when it comes to those finishes where they kind of finish into like an oval or, you know, something that's not just a typical like rectangle pillow, I definitely struggle a little bit. And I'm hoping that when I do pick projects that you finish them into different shapes, I'm hoping that as time goes on, I will get a little bit better in the finishing. So here is my finish. I stitched it on a piece of 40 count Dusty Road, which is the called for linen, with the called for threads 1/2. And I think this is so absolutely sweet. I just really, really, really love how it turned out. All of the stitches look so tiny and delicate, and I really, really like it. For the backing, the directions do say to use a piece of Dusty Road linen. So you have what you stitched on, and then you're supposed to take another piece of it and do that as the backing. I decided not to because, I mean, that was a pretty good, it was like a 6 by 6 inch piece, and I feel like I could use that for another project. So instead, I went into my Civil War reproduction fabric stash and I pulled a pink fabric that I thought really worked well with the front. And I do like how it turned out. Again, it's not perfect, but I really, really like how it turned out. I did go ahead and I did make these. I have stuffed them, I just haven't closed the bottom yet, and I will do that when I get ready to swap out all of my stuff for Easter. Right now, the trench still has, I took the Valentine out and it just has like sewing themed smalls in the trench bowl right now. But at some point, probably in the next week-ish, I will swap everything out. I think I'm just kind of waiting until the calendar turns over to March, and it's officially like, even though it's not officially spring, it's like March 1st appears and it's like spring. So that's when I plan to change out all of like the winter decor and bring in some of my springtime and just some of my regular stuff, because I don't really have a whole lot of springtime finishes. So I will be doing that over the next 2 weeks. Okay, so in my last video, I did have a giveaway, and I really, really, really loved reading through all of your guys' answers to the question, which is if you could bring back a TV show that you liked, you know, from like years ago, and you could bring it back exactly like it was and have it into prime time, what TV show would you bring back? And I really, really, really loved reading through all of the responses. And I'm really so glad that you guys really get into the spirit of answering the questions, because I know, you know, they're definitely not cross stitch or quilting related, but you know, it's just kind of fun. It's all in good fun. So thank you to everybody who entered to win the giveaway. I do have the giveaway winners to announce, so let's get started. So number 1 was for Patchwork Pumpkin, and the winner is Vicky Gillette. It's Gillet. Number 2 was for Blessed Bee, and the winner is Kimberly, I think it's Pham, Pham. Number 3 is for Mary Noel. Here it is. And the winner is, and this is your YouTube name, it's CharJ57. So it's CHARJ57. Number 4 was for Liberty's Welcome, Plum Street Sampler, and the winner is Josie Connor. And number 5 is Hello Summer, also by Plum Street Sampler, and the winner is Debbie Wakefield. So congratulations to all of the winners. If you guys can get a hold of me via email, I will put that information down below in the description box, and send me your address. I will get your prizes out in the mail to you as soon as I can. So thank you again for playing. All right, guys, this video also has a giveaway. The rules for the giveaway: you must be a subscriber, you must like the video, and of course answer the question, which I will give to you here shortly. These charts were very generously donated by Alice, so thank you so much, Alice, for your generosity. I know a lot of people have really been enjoying getting your charts in the mail, and I do really appreciate you sending those my way. Okay, so there are 5 giveaways up for grabs, and so what you need to do is somewhere in your comment, whether it's before you answer the question or after, you just need to put which charts you are interested in winning, because that is how I search for the winners, and it helps me know what to award you if you are lucky enough to come up in random comment generator. So as long as you do that, answer the question, you will be good. Number 1 is a kit. It is called Beehive Roll by Shepherd's Bush. So you get the chart, the linen, threads, beads, and lace to make this. Number 2 is by Plum Street Sampler. It is called the Pink House Sampler. So this is number 2. Number 3 is by Heartstring Samplery, and it's called Flanders Fields Biscorno. That is what it looks like. So this is number 3. Number 4 is Oh Christmas Tree by All Through the Night. And number 5 is by Heartstring Samplery. It's called Liberty Pin Drum Justice Needle Berry. So this is number 5. So if you are interested in one or all, you just need to put those numbers down below in your comment. And the question that you will need to answer is, I know I've asked this kind of earlier in the fall, but it was more fall related. And I haven't asked this particular question in a while, but as I was preparing lunch, I got to thinking about it. And that is, what is your favorite weeknight go-to dish that you make for yourself or your family? And put it down below. And then of course, put which charts you are interested in winning. And in my next video, I will pull a winner. So my favorite go-to dish that I've been making for my family, so I've made this probably like 4 or 5 times. I just happened to see a commercial and it made me think about it, and so when I went to the store I bought the stuff for it. But it started off as Philly cheesesteaks, and then it changed into like a chicken teriyaki sandwich that I've been making. It's like a sub sandwich, you know, kind of related to the Philly cheesesteak, but it's like a chicken teriyaki. So you make the chicken, and then once you cook it, you put the teriyaki sauce over it, and then you stick it in the oven with a piece of provolone cheese on the top, and you toast everything, and then you serve it for dinner. And it's really, really good, and it's very economical, which is nice. But that is a dish that we have been enjoying eating for the last, not like we've done it every night, but because we like it, we've probably been eating it about once a week. It's also great for lunch too, but it's a fast fix, and it's really, really good. I forget what I was watching. Maybe it wasn't a commercial. Maybe I was watching, what is her name? They're the ones that have the Magnolia Network. Joanna Gaines, she has her own cooking show, and she was making Philly cheesesteaks. And that's kind of how the idea sort of morphed from those Philly cheesesteaks into these chicken teriyaki, whatever you want to call it, sandwiches, hot sandwiches, sub sandwiches. You serve them on the outdoor rolls. Anyway, so that is something that we've been enjoying. That's kind of been our go-to when, you know, we need kind of like a quick meal. And it's very hearty and filling too. So down below, share what your go-to meal is. And in my next video, I will pick a winner. And thanks for playing. Okay, so a brief pause for you, but a long pause for me. I went and had a little bit of lunch, so it's about 1 o'clock now. And I decided that what I would do is I'm going to talk about some happy mail that I received over the past couple of weeks, and then there is a little item that I made that's not really quilting related, but it's also not cross-stitching related. So if you're not interested in seeing what I got in the mail, or what I made, or even about the quilting, I'm going to go ahead and say this is a great stopping off point, because as far as the cross-stitching, like progress and plans, that is all I have to show and share in this video. So of course I'll be back in 2 weeks to share my progress, and I hope you have a great one. But if you would like to stick around, that would be awesome as well. Okay, so over the past couple of weeks, I did receive a little bit of happy mail. So I got some cross-stitching related happy mail, and I also got some quilting related happy mail. I will show the quilting items in the quilting portion of the video, but cross-stitching. I received a package from Louisa Lee, and she had some duplicate Prairie Schooler Santa charts that she thought I might be interested in. And I only have one Prairie Schooler Santa, and it's always something that I've thought that I should start collecting, because I've seen Prairie Schooler Santa trees and they always look so cute. And my husband loves Santas, and we do decorate one of the trees with Santa, so I thought I should probably start collecting them, but it's something I haven't started doing yet. So I was really excited when I saw these in the package that she sent me. So the first one is the 2007 Santa and the 2018 Santa. So those are going to be a lot of fun to work on. And then she found this chart for me while she was at her local needlework shop. It's called Pumpkin Hollow Farms by Little House Needleworks. So I actually stitched this one when I first got back into cross-stitching, but when I got it finished, I wasn't really happy with how it had turned out. I didn't know anything about over-dyed threads or anything about that. All I knew was DMC. So I tried to do a conversion, and it didn't really turn out very well. I didn't like how it turned out. So I actually ended up giving it away, and then I gave the chart away as well. Kind of always regretted it. So I was really happy to get that in her package, because not so very long ago I saw someone working on it on Instagram. I really, really liked it, and it's kind of one of those charts that I really wished I had a second chance to redo. So now I do, and at some point I am going to have to restitch that one for myself. So thank you so much, Louisa. It was so sweet of you to send those my way. So very generous and kind of you. So thank you. I did receive a postcard in the mail. It is a handmade Valentine postcard, which is so cool. So this is what the outside of it looked like. And then this is what the inside is. So she did a fancy stitch on her sewing machine. So thank you so much, Sue. It was so sweet of you to send the Valentine my way. It arrived on Valentine's Day, which was extra sweet. So thank you so much. I did receive a package from the Fat Quarter shop of 2 new items that are available now on their website, and I will put a link to their website down below. The first item is the Oh Dear cross stitch pattern. It was featured in the December Stitch Quarterly Club. I always call it a club. I don't think it is. But here is what the Oh Dear cross stitch chart looks like. And the second item is a stitchy stand by Lori Holt of Bee in My Bonnet. And I'm going to read what it says in the description, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. The stitchy stand does an outstanding job of holding all of your stitching supplies. This pillow stand keeps your cross stitch pattern up and open while you stitch, while the extra pockets keep your scissors, needles, and skeins nice and tidy. You can also use it outside your sewing space for books, tablets, and other devices. So this is what it looks like. So this is where you would put your cross stitch chart or tablet or book. There's a pocket on the side. There are 3 pockets in the back and another one on the side as well. So I can definitely see how this would come in handy for a lot of different purposes. And it also comes with a cute drawstring bag, which it had a little label on it. However, a certain puppy by the name of Freddy somehow magically jumped up and got it and then shredded it. So thank you so much to the Fat Quarter Shop for sending me those items. And again, I will put a link to the Fat Quarter Shop's website down below. All right, so let's talk about sewing first. Over the past couple of weeks, I have made 2 primitive style bunnies. Liberty Creek Primitives was having a 50% off sale in her Etsy shop of all of her PDF patterns. And this would have been back in January. And I went ahead and I purchased 2 of them. And one of the bunnies, I decided to make one for my grandma and then one for me. Because my grandma, she has a cyst that is on her thyroid, and she has to go in every year to get an ultrasound. And this last visit, the doctor had told her that they wanted her to go into the hospital and have another biopsy because it had done something, or they wanted to get a closer look at it. So she made the appointment and she called me up and told me that she had to go get a biopsy, and she wasn't happy about it because the first biopsy had been very painful. And of course she was hoping that, it wouldn't change so she wouldn't have to. So it's kind of one of those situations you go in to get the ultrasound and then you hold your breath, hoping that you don't have to go in and get the biopsy. So she told me that they had called, said that she'd had to go in and get the biopsy, and she made the appointment for Valentine's Day. I'm like, Grammy, why would you make the appointment for Valentine's Day? She's like, I didn't even think about it. And so after I got off the phone with her, I got to thinking, I should make her something because she's going to dread going in and she'll, worry herself into, all the things. And I thought, she might really like, having something made, something to kind of brighten up her Valentine's Day. So I decided to make her a primitive bunny. And I worked on it all day during the Super Bowl. And I finished it at 9:30 that night. I put in the last stitch on her. And then in the morning, I wrapped her up. And right after I finished wrapping her, my grandma calls and says that they canceled her appointment, that the hospital got looking at the, between the 2 ultrasounds from last year and this year, and nothing had changed. She didn't have to go in. So she was really happy. And I was happy for her too, because biopsies are absolutely no fun. And I know she was really worried about it, and now she doesn't have to worry about it for another year. So I got off the phone with her, and I looked down at her package and was like, oh, poop. So I told Brian, I said, well, I'm going to I'll just go over there and surprise her. So I finished getting ready, and right as I got done getting ready, the doorbell rings, and it's my grandma. So I was able to give her bunny. She loved it, and I'm really happy that she did. So after I did her bunny, I already had mine all cut out, and then a couple of days ago I decided to go ahead and assemble her. So this is my Prim Bunny. So this is the Buttercup 15 pattern by Liberty Creek Primitives, and I'll put a link to her Etsy shop down below, because when I was on Instagram today, February 25th, I saw she was having another 50% off sale in her Etsy shop for this weekend. So if you're watching this video on the Saturday and Sunday after the 25th, she is having a 50% off sale. And she does periodically have them, and I follow her on Instagram. So I'll put a link to her Etsy shop, and then I will put her Instagram handle in case you guys want to go follow her. And then that way you would also see when she's going to have an Etsy sale. So I did this one way different. The original bunny is supposed to have some, and I'm not sure how you say it, it's like Onstaberg. I don't know how to say that. It's basically like I know that stitchers will stitch on it, cross stitch on it, and you can get it at Joann's and Hobby Lobby. I didn't have any, and there was no way to get it here in time for me to make my grandma's bunny. So I went and cut my bunny out of some muslin that I had in my stash. After I put the bunny together, I did paint it with white paint. I baked it in the oven. When she came out, I distressed her with my coffee cinnamon clove mixture, baked her again, and then I went and put her face on and her dress. So my grandma's bunny looks exactly the same as mine, only her bunny is in a pink dress, and her little clothespin here has an antique button on it. And she also has a carrot. I have my carrot stuffed, I just haven't made it yet. Mostly because I wanted her to hold the Samplings #1 egg, which is right here. So she kind of like has her arm around it. So this is my bunny. I absolutely love her. She's so very cute. And I have another one that I'm going to be making as well. Okay, so over the past 2 weeks, I did receive a little bit of Quilty Happy Mail. And once again, I'm absolutely blown away by the generosity of this community. You guys honestly spoil me absolutely rotten, and I honestly hope that someday I am able to pay it forward. The first package came from Leslie. She told me that she had a quilt pattern that she had made, and she knew that I would absolutely love it, and she was 100% correct. Here it is. Oh, it's so gorgeous. So absolutely gorgeous. And I have a lot of blue fabric left over from my Cut the Mustard quilt, and it's like the perfect like indigo blue color. And I have a little bit of some gold fabric that I think will be perfect. But the rest of it I might have to like pop into my local quilt shop, especially for, it's all gonna have to start off with this red right here, because that red is what really sets the whole quilt off. So I think that's the foundation I will build from, but I'm pretty sure that with all the elements, I might just be able to, it might just come together exactly perfect. So I definitely know that this is one I'm going to have to make, and I just absolutely love it so very much. She also sent me pictures of her quilt, and it's gorgeous. So I'm really excited to start kind of collecting fabrics for it and make one for myself. It's just so beautiful. And then she also included some blue fabric, and she had used this blue fabric in her quilt and this blue fabric. So I'm definitely going to incorporate both of them into the quilt. And then she sent me this Civil War quilts book. And I've really, really enjoyed looking through it. I've looked through it, but I'm gonna go back and read through it. And there is a quilt that I know I'm going to have to make. And it is this one. And in my Temecula album quilt, there is a flag, a pieced flag pattern. and I have some paper pieced, they call them something in a window. I know it as the economy block, but it has a bunch of different names. But I have the economy block. It's a paper pieced tablet that I had bought from the Fat Quarter Shop when I was putting together a quilt from last year. It was the big, was it last year or the year before? But I have a bunch of it left over. So I think between the two, between the flag pattern that I have and then those paper piece blocks, I'll be able to make something very similar, except mine's going to have to be bigger. Or, you know, it's, the one in the book is narrower, and I want mine to be like at least like a throw size. So that is definitely something that I will be looking into making. The quilt that it's in the book, those blocks that go around the flag, they're 10-inch blocks. So, and I think it's done so that you can have people sign them and things like that. But mine would definitely be quite a bit smaller and then just a throw size. So thank you so much, Leslie. It was so sweet of you to send all of that my way. So very generous of you. And I cannot wait to put the Victory Star quilt together. It's going to be a lot of fun. I also received a package from Becca Clash of My Stitchy Home here on YouTube. She sent me this Valentine's Day card with a sweet note inside and this stack of beautiful Civil War reproduction fabric. Oh, I love it so much. And the fact that it's patriotic Civil War, oh my gosh, I just absolutely love it. So thank you so much, Becca. It was so sweet and kind and generous of you to send this my way. And I cannot wait to make a quilt out of it. So thank you so very much. I also will put a link to Becca's channel down below. All right, so that brings us to the Quilting Progress section of the video. Now, my last video, I said that I was going to quilt the Temecula Mini Monday Sewing Bee quilt, and I was also going to quilt my Jane Austen quilt, and that had exactly been my plan. But last week, of course, in my spare time, I ended up reading a book when I should have been out there quilting my own stuff. I did manage to quilt for clients, but not so much for myself. And then I was going to do it this week, but it got really, really cold here. And where my quilt machine is, it's basically out in the garage. I call it my dungeon. I pretty much have completely taken it over, but it's always about 10 to 15 degrees warmer out there than it is outside. So we had some very cold temps here. Our nighttime temps were like down in the 20s. So, you know, having it be that cold in the night, it definitely makes it very, very cold out there. And I don't really like running my machine when it doesn't even get to like 45 degrees. I try to, you know, work with it when it's a little bit warmer out there. So yesterday I ended up having to quilt for clients, so I just did not get any extra time to go out there and quilt. My plan for the next 2 weeks is, of course, to quilt those for myself. I also have a couple client quilts I need to get done as well. But I am absolutely 100% determined to quilt both of those quilts and have them to show in my next video. But I did work on some of my block of the months, as well as I did sew a couple of rows on my Pinwheel quilt. So let's start off with the Temecula album quilt. So this is what it looks like. And I have made it all the way up to the 9th month. And I started the first block of the 9th month last night. I was gonna try to get a few more done, but I ran out of time. So this is the blocks for the 9th month. And this is the one that I finished last night. So my plan will be to continue working to get that month finished, and then that will leave 3 months to go. And my goal is to have all 3 of those months finished by the end of March, so that way in April I can begin assembling the quilt and possibly get it quilted so that way it can hang on my wall this summer, or here this summer. A lot of fun working with that one. I really enjoyed it a lot, and I can't wait to see it all completed. I've had some questions about how I store the blocks when I finish with them. So this is a scrapbook case that I got from Michael's. I have several of these that I use to store quilts that are in progress. If they have quilt blocks, this is how I store them. So it keeps them all nice and tidy. It also keeps anything from getting on them, and I always know exactly where they are when I want to go get them and look at them or add blocks to them when I get them finished. All right, next up is the Dear Jane quilt. So I'm working on this one with Yvette, Christy of Crosshatch Quilts, and Carol Saltbox Stitcher. And they are all caught up. I mean, Yvette and Christy both have January and February done. Carol has, she's doing hers a little bit differently, and she's got a big group done. And then there's me. So I showed my progress in my last video. So I had 4 blocks completed, and I was supposed to work on the other 4 and show them in this video, and I got 1 done. So my plan is to get the last 3 done over this weekend. It's like a must. So before I do anything, I can't work on Temecula, I can't work on the Pinwheel quilt. I have to work on the 3 blocks and get them done, because I don't want to have them not done by March 1st when the other 4 or 5 blocks are assigned. Even though I already have them, I'm not going to start them until March. So that's definitely something that is high on my to-do list for the weekend. And I'm not going to allow myself to do anything else, like quilting wise, until I get those blocks completed. And then I just want to be caught up. So really enjoying putting it together. It is, each block, depending on what it is, it can be very labor intensive, but it is so very worth it when you see the finished block. And I think this is going to be a really cool quilt. I always show my husband all the blocks that I finish, and even he says that this quilt is going to be really awesome. So I just need to like get cracking, because honestly, the only excuse I have is that I spent so much of my day working on project bags, and I didn't really feel like sewing on anything when it came time to work on that stuff, because I usually do like quilt block assembly for myself in the evenings, like late afternoon, early evenings, when I'm done either quilting for clients or working on stuff for the Etsy shop. So I just need to like focus and work on it. So that is my personal marching orders, are to get those 3 blocks done. So I will have them to show you in my next video. All right, and then my last block of the month is one that I have not talked about thus far. Even though in my last video I knew it was here, and I had plans to work on it. I don't know why I didn't show it in my last video, but I signed up for this block of the month back in May, and I am doing it through Homestead Hearth. I believe that's the name of the shop, and if I'm wrong, I'll scroll it right here. But it is out of Missouri, and the block of the month got delayed. It was supposed to start in December, and the fabric was delayed in getting to them. And they finally got it, and then they sent it to me, and it arrived, the first block of the month arrived the end of January, and then February's arrived last week. So because I knew that February's blocks were on its way, I decided I needed to go ahead and put the January blocks together. So it is called Block Bonanza, and the pattern is by Sarah J. And I'm doing mine in the colorway Rose, which is Joe Morton's new fabric line. And it is a gorgeous quilt. When I signed up to do the block of the month, I didn't realize that it was going to be a kit you could buy. So you can buy the whole entire kit right now. I saw it at my local quilt shop. And she had even showed it to me when I was in there, and then I fessed up that I was doing it as a block of the month, which it kind of works out better because the cost of the quilt kit, there was just no way I could afford to get it after Christmas, and I mean, there's just no way. And doing it as a block of the month is more economical for me. So the way that they broke it up is so it's supposed to be like a weekly, I guess it would be a block of the week because there are so many blocks that you make. But instead of sending it out once a week, they just decided to take however many weeks are in that month and send out that many, the block pattern and then the fabrics. So this is the first block. And the second block, which I love. I love all of the colors of this fabric line. And at my local quilt shop, she did have a fat quarter bundle of it. And it's just gorgeous. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So I will be working on this block of the month all this year. I can't remember if it's a 12-month program or if it's going to run a little bit over. So far, the past 2 months that I received the block, I don't know if I want to call it a block of the week or a block of the month. When I broke it up and I counted out all of the blocks, it would actually be longer. So I'm assuming that some of the months will get an extra block to do based on however many weeks are in that month. So I think it might run a little bit longer than a year. So, but that's okay. I'm loving the colors. I love the blocks that arrived for February, and I will be getting those put together over this next 2 weeks as well. So I will have those to show in my next video. The nice thing is they don't take a lot of time to assemble. I did look at the upcoming blocks, and I think that there's a couple of them that might take a little bit of extra time. There's a lot of little triangles, but it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed how these blocks turned out. One thing that kind of took me aback was when I got the fabric to put the blocks together in, they give you just enough, and you have to really be paying attention when you cut the quilt blocks out because there is not a lot of room for air. So that is something that I definitely need to really pay attention to, because I would like it if the whole quilt was made out of just the one fabric line. So I'm excited to get those blocks in the mail each month, and I'm excited to assemble the blocks, and then eventually I will have the quilt completely done, and it's going to be beautiful. I can't wait. All right, so that brings me to the Pinwheel quilt. So this is what it'll look like when it is finished. This is a quilt that my two good friends, they each started it, and they did so many blocks, and they both decided they didn't want to, deal with it anymore, didn't want to make any more blocks, so they both decided to send me all of the blocks, and so I have a piece of both of them, which is so cool in the same quilt. And here is my progress. So I was able to get a couple more rows assembled, and you really have to pay attention. That is what it looks like. But you have to take this, lay it out on the table, and then take the blocks that you are going to put in with some of the blocks from the previous row, and then you have to lay them out and sew them together. And so I basically do a chunk at a time. So like one of these I will do. So like even though there's 2 rows here, I just consider it as 1 row. So I've just been, when I have extra time, I'll sit down and I will put a row together. So I'm hoping, so I know I'm going to continue working on that. I don't know if I'll have it to show finished in my next video. That would be awesome. But I don't know yet. We'll have to see how things go. But when it does get done, I cannot wait. And the fact that it has a piece of both of my friends in it is just so cool. So I'll always have that memory of the quilt no matter where I go. So, plans. to continue working on everything I showed you. One small change, on March 1st, I will be taking this quilt down and swapping it out for another one. Haven't quite decided which one it will be, but I have enjoyed having it up. I love walking into the room and seeing it hang. And I look forward to when it will hang again on the wall. It'll actually stay out on one of the quilt racks as the year goes by. I'm not going to put it away, so I still will get to see it. So, but I've absolutely loved having it. If you're new here, the quilt is the Red Sampler quilt, and it is by Lori Holt of BMI Bonnet. All of the information is on her blog. I think we started it in April of last year. So if you go back into her blog last year, April, May, maybe even March, I think the information is still there. So it was a lot of fun to put together, and I absolutely love it. I did it all out of Civil War reproduction, and I did it in scrappy, kind of a scrappy version. So I love it so very much. So all of this stuff behind me will change. The tree will get something else. I haven't decided what yet. But basically, all of this stuff behind me will change as we make our way through to spring. So I'm glad that we've almost made it to spring. I'm hoping that we will get really good weather this spring. So because I'm anxious to get out into the flower garden. So anyway, I think that is all I have to talk about in this video. If you stuck around for this long, thank you so very, very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below, or you can contact me via email, and all of that information will be down below in the description box. But other than that, I hope you have a great last few days of February and a good start to March. Hope you get lots of stitching or sewing or quilting done over these next 2 weeks. And otherwise, you can see me on Instagram. I'm Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, or I do have a Facebook page, which is Pumpkin Hollow Quilting, and I will put a link to both of those down below. I don't know why, but always saying goodbye, always like hello and goodbye. Those are my two hard, you never know exactly what to say in the beginning, and you never know exactly what to say when you're leaving. Anyway, but otherwise, I will be back in 2 weeks, and I hope you have a great one. See you soon. Bye-bye.